Monday, March 20th, 2023, City of Grandview Heights Planning Administration Committee meeting. We've got just about everybody here, but we do have myself, the chair, Ryan Edwards, Melanie Houston, members. Item of business number 1, ordinance 2023-08, an ordinance approving the codification of 2022 legislation, editing and inclusion of certain ordinances as parts of the various component codes of the codified ordinances of the City of Grandview Heights, Ohio. This is the 3rd reading. I get all the fun stuff. Updating the code book. Attorney Kuzan, do you have anything enlightening to say?
Well, I think I've checked all of our legislation for the past year and picked up all of the items that we've updated. And I think that, Leilani, there was something you had sent me, I can't remember what it was, like a brief description. Oh, it's in the second column now, a brief description of all of the different items. So I think this is vetted in terms of accuracy. The traffic code and general offenses code, those are matters of statewide concern, and so those are not items that we have locally updated or amended. They are sent to us, and so the codification company that we have a contract with automatically inserts those, across the board for all communities. And last I checked, we didn't have any animal drawn vehicles in Grandview, but nonetheless, that's been amended.
Fantastic.
Not yet.
Do any?
Not yet, yes.
Not
That's
yet.
right. It could be a
That's next.
sustainability issue, who knows?
Well, there'll be some questions about that. Are there any member questions, comments, concerns? Any council as a whole? Seeing none, I would move to make a recommendation of approval to council.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next item of business, ordinance 2023-10, an ordinance to update chapter 1139, chapter 1141, and chapter 1147 of the codified ordinances of the City of Grandview Heights pertaining to the posting of meeting notices for the Planning Commission and Board of Zoning Appeals hearings. This is second reading. We recently did this for our council, for our general council meetings. We kind of got back up, catch up with the times, I guess, as it were. We used to print off a lot of paper and post in a bunch of places. We are moving that to primarily digital and online forums. We have retained the requirement for at least one paper posting at City Hall. It has been requested that this be passed with the suspension of the rules so that this could be implemented before the April meetings. I will entertain any questions or comments about mostly that, because I would imagine.
Yeah, let me, if I may, Madam Chair, add a couple of notes that were shared by Megan Monaghan in the building department. She says the ads on a regular basis run from 4:30 to 1200 to post in the Columbus Dispatch. Looking at Planning Commission alone, February 2023 postings cost $430.92 and March cost $1,173. BZA is very similar to that pricing. Typically, BZA will have 2 to 3 cases per meeting, which makes the bill somewhere between $500 and $800 per meeting. So again, there's a real cost associated with making these changes, and we would ask for your support as promptly as possible. Oh, and they, Liz Kelker is not here this evening, but she requested, if possible, suspension of the rules and vote at the second. This is second reading, right?
Yeah. Those costs that you mentioned were associated with the
Publication.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
And clarifying question, I'm supportive of this, but does that, I'm wondering if that even gets in front of our community, because we don't have This Week News at this point, right? So that's like broader, so it'd be anyone who gets
Yes,
the
so there's a
newspaper
couple
on
of
daily
things that
basis.
we need to collectively do. So we'll continue to post at City Hall, we'll continue to post online through all our normal mechanisms. But I think this is really a good opportunity to let, you know, friends and neighbors know that they should subscribe to all of our notification services so that they can be receiving or, you know, tapping into all that information without us having to push it out in any individualized way.
And I wanted to also note that we still have the yard signs, which has been a really, I think that, to your point, Melanie, about posting in the dispatch, I would think that, I'm gonna make an assumption here, that most people who would be interested in planning commission or BZA cases are gonna be people who live within Grandview Heights, especially people in the immediate vicinity of any property that has a case. If you're in that immediate vicinity, you're gonna see the yard sign. That's the clearest form of communication we have about these cases. So I have no qualms at all about removing these publication requirements or the multiple posting of paper notifications.
And this is also consistent with what we just did for
Mhm.
our regular meeting.
And we just passed the signage requirement a couple of years ago.
The signage requirement is probably about
7 or 8 years.
Okay, so, okay.
I can tell you later.
Yeah, please.
This was presented to Planning Commission and reviewed. There were no objections noted. It actually triggered kind of an overall review of their rules and guidelines for their internal purposes. But just a couple things to note. Any media organization can register with the clerk and be part of those regular distributions. I think that's generally it. And I agree that the dispatch is not. We've been effectively forced by our own rules and procedures to advertise there because the tri-village doesn't exist. But it's not something that I think should be continued for any purpose or importance.
I don't think when these rules were made, anybody could have anticipated
No.
the disappearance of local newspapers.
And all that.
No.
Crazy.
It was somewhere, I want to say I saw dates in there from either 59 or 63 or something
Oh, boy.
when these were established.
Wow.
Good. Surprised there wasn't a messenger pigeon involved. Sorry, goodness. That's-
Animal drawn.
Animal drawn, mail carrier, okay. Any other questions?
Is, the 7 days, is that consistent with what it was before, or is that a change?
Yes.
That's consistent, okay.
Yeah, the agendas get posted a week in advance, the signage goes out a week in advance.
That's what I was thinking. Just double checking.
When is their next meeting? So does passage tonight still give them enough time to do it for April? 'Cause if it
Yes.
does, okay, good.
Yes,
Okay.
planning commission deadline is like the 29th, I think.
That's why the suspension was requested too.
I figured somebody did the math on that, I just wanted to make sure. Any other questions or comments? I would move to make a recommendation to council for approval and with the suspension of the rules.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That concludes the planning administration committee meeting adjourned.
It was like one of the longest ones I've had, guys.
The good one.
9 minutes.
Do I need to not vote on the bobcats with your?